It's looking like a grey summer, isn't it? Welcome back to West Ham fans Premier League Roundup. This one's a busy one, isn't it? Because over the past week, it's just long. It's just long. As a West Ham fan, especially, it's just long because obviously with one of our best players leaving and no transfer business, which waiting for the deal to get over the line, is getting long. But let's get straight into it. Timber is another player that's close to signing for Arsenal, and it feels like that he's more of an upgrade on Tomiyasu, because Tomiyasu seems to be very injury prone, and I'm sure Arteta was probably frustrated at the fact that players like Saliba, obviously he got injured. Gabriel played every game, I'm pretty sure. Nearly played every minute, apart from one time he got taken off because Arsenal were already battering Crystal Palace at the time. And Ben White played a lot of games. I don't remember how many games Ben White played, but he definitely played over... I want to say he played over 35, but I'm not sure when he was injured in the season. But Timber, from what I've seen, I've only seen 3 games of him, and there was 2 games against Liverpool and a game against Rangers in their group stage. I didn't watch the Napoli games. From what I've seen, he's comfortable on both feet, comfortable on the ball, can play, and I think he could play across the back 4. And I'm pretty sure he can play in midfield as well. And he seems to be one of them versatile players that you want to come in for a few games, and you need that strength and depth if you want to go back for the title. And I feel like that's what Arsenal are trying to do. Which doesn't make sense why they signed Kai Havertz. But yeah, I've talked about that before. But Timber's a good signing, and that will probably be done very, very soon. Arsenal seem to be taking long to get these signings over the line. But yeah, let's move on to... Well, speaking of Kai Havertz, and obviously he left Chelsea. Chelsea are scamming everyone. Obviously, Azpilicueta is leaving, probably a Premier League icon. The guy has won, I think he won 2 league titles. He won a Champions League. He won FA Cup. Yeah, won a few trophies, hasn't he, Azpilicueta? He was at Chelsea for a really long time. I thought he was going to go to Inter Milan, but he ended up going to Atletico Madrid. So there was the here we go on that. You spent a lot of time at this club. You did what you did. I'm pretty sure Chelsea fans didn't want him to get Ivanovic, where he stayed for too long and ended up getting ripped. And there was only a couple of times that Azpilicueta really got ripped. But now that they've got Malo Gusto from Lyon as their backup for Reece James, they didn't need to sell. They didn't need to have Azpilicueta anymore. But yeah, Chelsea are really scamming everyone, man, because that moves on to Manchester United. The fact that Chelsea have got 120 million for Mount and Havertz. It's crazy. Because neither of them, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to laugh at prices. I don't do that with players in general. I don't put the price tag on them. How much you cost this, how much you cost that. I don't do that anymore because nobody's worth what they are in the market. But whoever's negotiating for Chelsea, you've got to give them props, because I don't know how they let it go at all these players. Obviously, Hakim Ziyech failed his medical. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has gone to join Tomori at AC Milan. Mendy's gone to Saudi. Koulibaly's gone to Saudi. By the way, that was a lot of people have said this. That was the biggest waste of time, asking John Terry for his number, only for you to do shit and then leave. But at the same time, he only had 1 season, so maybe he could have been good in the second one. But Chelsea don't mess around. They want to keep people like Levi Colwill, and obviously Badiashile is injured, but he's probably one of their better centre-backs. Thiago Silva's still there. I didn't know when he was going to go to Brazil or just whatever. Wesley Fofana didn't have the best of seasons, but there's a player there. And we've got a left-back at Cucurella and James. They just need to get the Caicedo deal over the line, and we'll have a really good partnership with Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, and they could be a dark horse for the top 4, or the top 5 now. But they need to go for a cup as well. Let's be honest. When you're at Chelsea, especially at that kind of caliber club, you need to be winning trophies. I think the Champions League was the last one that they won, so they probably want to end that one. And yeah, Chelsea carried on to doing mad stuff with business. And I think it's mainly about outgoings because of how many incomings they've had, but they still do need incomings, believe it or not. Because I don't know whether Mudryk and Madueke was a need in January, but even in January they were buying stuff for the future, which is a weird way of doing it, but there's a method to the madness. And it would be interesting to see who's going to be the depth for Caicedo and Fernandes, because despite them playing one game a week, once one of them gets injured, the whole balance fucks over. And I'm sure Pochettino would want to pick his players for the type of pre-season that he's going to have. Because Chelsea had so many players, even last year. They still had players like Baba Rahman, Emerson, Batshuayi. Emerson was obviously playing for my club now. I'm happy with Emerson. But Chelsea had a lot of players. And yeah, it's one of them. It's one of them things where Pochettino can squeeze a lot out of that squad, and you'd think that someone like Mason Mount would have done well under Pochettino, but he's gone to Man United, and I don't understand the signing, because when I look at Man United's team, is that the midfielder you need? For me, you need a midfielder that can pick up the ball and just drive with it. Off of Casemiro, they're not going to get De Jong, but a De Jong type player that I would have thought they would have gone in for someone like Gravenberch. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like Gravenberch would. I think he was managed under Ten Hag at Ajax, and I thought because he would come out of favour at Bayern Munich, maybe he could have transformed it. He could have been cheaper as well. But if they get another midfielder, then the Mason Mount signing doesn't seem so bad. But I don't understand the signing on the ball, because off the ball I get it, a lot of energy, but Casemiro's gonna have to do a lot, because Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes aren't necessarily defensive aware. They just run around and start kicking people. Maybe they still want to. If it's a pressing thing, then obviously I get it, but Casemiro's gonna have to do a lot. He's gonna have to do a lot. It's like if Arsenal had put Thomas Partey permanently with Fabio Vieira and Odegaard. Not in the same sense that it's good that Fabio Vieira is pressing or anything, but I'm saying in terms of the fact that Partey would have to do a lot. He would have to do a lot because Odegaard ain't defensively thing, but he presses high up the pitch. But he ain't gonna help out Partey defensively. Neither is Fabio Vieira. They're not that type of player. But it's like if we, as West Ham fans, it's like if we put, let's say, Flynn Downs, I guess now. Flynn Downs behind... Actually, I don't know. We don't have many players. But you get my point. And I don't get the signing, but there's more stuff with David De Gea. David De Gea put the yawn emoji. I don't really... David De Gea probably should have got a better send-off if he's going to leave, but I don't know, man. There's high standards at these kind of clubs, and you've got to perform well. David De Gea performed well in some games, but he made quite a few mistakes as well. And if you want to play Ten Hag's football, you have to have great distribution and be a good goalkeeper. Onana is the guy. And I think there was a rumour that they fell out at Ajax, but at the same time, that could be revived. That would also be perfect. That signing would be perfect for Man United. That would be a really good signing. It doesn't look like Chelsea are going to go after him because it looks like Kepa's going to be their number one. But that would be a great signing for Manchester United. He's a madman. He's a madman. He loves to take risks, and he's going to make everyone in that Old Trafford crowd panic. But that would be a really, really, really good signing. I don't think I've spoken about this yet. Liverpool. Let's talk about Liverpool, man. Liverpool are moving mad. I'm seeing rumours of it's going to be Thuram and Lavia. I thought the Thuram thing was close, but it feels like this Thuram thing has been close for a couple of weeks now. But they've got Szoboszlai. And I think they got it because it was the last chance to pay the contract. And pay the release clause on the contract on the 30th of June or some shit. Because obviously, the new year, the contract doesn't come into play like that. The release clause doesn't come into play into the next year of the contract. But they signed him. I haven't really watched him much, but they're addressing their issues is the point. And I'm going off you need to always look back at the back end of the previous season with some teams, because usually that form carries in to the next season, even with the pre-season in the middle of it. And Liverpool went on a streak to try and get into top four. There's still holes there. There's still holes there, but I don't know whether Liverpool are going to come back or not. But I think they have a good chance of. I think they're probably looking like the best fit because they know how to do it already to challenge Manchester City. And I don't know if they're going to go with this Trent inverted thing and play three at the back, because Robertson ain't going to do that job well, because he's not a centre back. But I don't know if they're going to get the same midfielders again. Will they keep Trent in the midfield, or will they have a different midfield so their fullbacks don't get exposed as much and they'll play the rock and roll football that they want to do again? Because I think either way it could work. I think they might still need another centre back because Matip might go. And Van Dijk can't play like about 60 games, can he? But if they get into Thuram, Lavia, Szoboszlai, McAllister, and you've already got youngsters like Bajcetic and Elliott, and you've got experience of the Hendersons, and Fabinho hasn't been himself, but he could play a bit part role still, and that would probably still fit in, and that could be really good for Liverpool, man. That could be really good for Liverpool, with like the way they play and stuff, and it will be interesting to see what they do. But moving on, I think Liverpool will probably challenge Manchester City next season if they carry on like this. I want to talk about a team that I probably hyped up too much last season for their transfer window, but it feels like they're doing it again. It's Tottenham. Tottenham have signed James Maddison. I'm just as gutted about Maddison going to Tottenham as I am Rice going to Arsenal, because Maddison was one of my favourite players in the Premier League. But he's gone to Tottenham, and that's the bit of creativity that they need. And Ange Postecoglou probably is looking at that midfield like Maddison, Bentancur, Bissouma, and probably thinking, I could really make a good midfield out of this. Obviously, Bentancur got injured, but he'll probably be back maybe in a couple months. I'm not sure when. But I don't know whether he'll be there for pre-season for Tottenham. But if Ange Postecoglou gets his centre-back and maybe a couple full-backs, I think they need a couple full-backs to play somewhat inverted. I think Ange Postecoglou plays inverted full-backs, I want to say. But I'm not too sure. Maybe he'll be quite flexible in his tactics. I'm not sure how flexible he is in his tactics, or whether he just goes gung-ho. But they've got Pedro Porro confirmed, Kulusevski confirmed. If they get a couple centre-backs, they need two. Although Eric Dyer is staying, which is funny, but I don't think he'll actually play as much. So I don't think it's actually that funny. I think they signed Manor Solomon, the guy who played for Fulham on loan last season, on a free. So that'll be Son and Solomon on the left, and Richarlison and Kane up front in terms of the depth, and the Kulusevski would just be on the right, and then I'm sure Solomon will fill in for him as well. That feels like a cheap signing, but he is a good player. So I don't know. I can't tell with Tottenham sometimes whether they're picking the free signings up for the sake of it, or the cheap signings up for the sake of it, or there's a direction. Because they've got this goalkeeper who seems to be highly rated from Empoli. I think he's called like Vicario or something. They were going to go after David Raya. They didn't want to pay the 40 million. But if this guy's also known for his distribution and stuff like that, then he's going to fit into how their manager plays, and it feels like they're going in a different direction. They don't have a director of football now, and to be fair, the Man of Solomon one was done by an agent, according to Fabrizio Romano. But I don't know what Tottenham are doing nowadays. I don't know whether their fans are happy with their business anymore. But I would be happy in my club with signing James Maddison, put it that way, and hopefully that means that they're out of the race for Harvey Barnes, because I want Harvey Barnes at West Ham. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you're new. Social medias are in the description if you want to follow me, and the email for the inquiries. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.